After rejecting her invitation to prom night, this boy is kidnapped and tortured by a psychopath girl. The film begins by showing a high school student named Brent spending time with his father as they drive around together. During the trip, they chat casually about many things, laughing and talking like close friends. Their relationship looks very warm and close, like a father and son who truly enjoy each other's company. However, because the road is very quiet, Brent becomes too absorbed in the conversation and stops paying attention to the road ahead. Suddenly, his father notices a badly injured man standing right in the middle of the road. Brent panics and quickly swerves the steering wheel to avoid hitting him, but unfortunately, the car loses control and crashes into a tree. The accident becomes a devastating tragedy for Brent because his father dies in the crash, leaving Brent with deep emotional scars and overwhelming guilt that continues to haunt him. 6 months pass after the tragic incident. Brent eventually graduates from high school, and like most students, everyone begins looking for a partner to attend the prom night later that evening. Brent's best friend, Jamie, has already found his date, Mia. Meanwhile, Brent was once asked by a girl named Lola to be her partner at the dance, but he politely rejected her because he already has a girlfriend named Holly.
Will you go to the dance with me?
Sorry, Lola. I'm going with Holly.
After that, Brent spends some time with Holly in her car. From a distance, Lola quietly watches the two of them together, inside the car with a strange expression. Since the accident that took his father's life 6 months earlier, Brent has been deeply traumatized and no longer dares to drive a car. Because of that, Holly plans to pick him up for the prom later that night. The guilt that continues to haunt Brent also drives him to hurt himself with a razor blade that he keeps hidden in his necklace. When Brent finally arrives home, he briefly tells Holly that Lola once asked him to be her partner at the prom that night, but he had already rejected her.
Lola Stone. That's who asked me.
What?
In his room, Brent gets into an argument with his mother, Carla. Carla insists that Brent should go to the prom by taxi because she believes a taxi driver would be more experienced at driving than Holly. Hearing that immediately offends Brent and reminds him of the accident that took his father's life. At the time of the crash, Brent was driving without a license, which only makes the guilt weigh even heavier on his mind. Accompanied by his dog and music playing through his headset, Brent eventually goes to a cliff to calm himself down. While reflecting there, the thought of ending his life briefly crosses his mind because of the deep guilt he feels. However, Brent manages to stop himself. But while he is alone there, a mysterious man suddenly appears and kidnaps Brent. On the other hand, Carla tries to call Brent, but strangely, he does not answer any of her calls, which makes Carla start to worry. She then decides to search for her son at the places Brent usually goes when he wants to be alone. But after looking everywhere, Carla still cannot find him. When she finally returns home, she meets Holly, who has come to pick Brent up. After realizing that Brent is not at home, Holly begins to panic, and the two of them repeatedly try to call him. In the middle of that tense situation, Carla and Holly become even more worried when Brent's dog suddenly returns home injured and without Brent beside it. Seeing this, Carla immediately calls Mia's father, a police officer named Paul. However, Paul only tries to calm Carla down and says that Brent is probably just trying to clear his mind and will most likely come back on his own. Meanwhile, Jamie has just arrived at the prom with Mia, who looks quiet and uncomfortable. Noticing that Mia does not seem interested in the dance, Jamie decides to cheer her up by hanging out in the car and listening to Mia's favorite music instead. On the other hand, it is revealed that Brent has actually been kidnapped by Lola's father, Eric. The plan to kidnap Brent was originally Lola's idea. Lola is known as a quiet and freak girl. Since she was always spoiled by Eric since childhood, she grew up with a childish personality, and whatever she wants must always be granted by Eric. After that, Eric gives Lola a pink dress as a gift. Several hours later, Brent begins to regain consciousness. He is shocked to find himself tied to a chair while wearing a formal suit, as if he is about to attend a dance party. In front of him there is a dining table, and sitting there are Eric, a woman they call Bright Eyes, and Lola. The house has also been decorated in such a way that it looks like a prom night celebration, as if they are holding their own graduation party for Lola. Just after regaining consciousness, Brent is immediately shocked when Lola injects bleach into his neck so he cannot scream for help. After that, Lola casually takes photos with Brent as if everything is part of a fun celebration. Soon after, they sit down and have dinner together. Even though Bright Eyes is Lola's mother, Lola treats her very harshly. However, Bright Eyes remains silent, as if she is already used to being treated that way by her own daughter. Lola then feeds Brent roughly while insulting him, and even forces Brent to suck on her finger.
Do you want some?
Is it finger licking good?
Good! Show me.
Brent could actually fight back by biting Lola's finger, but Eric threatens to hit him with a hammer if he dares to hurt his daughter. After that, Brent asks permission to go to the bathroom because he cannot hold his urge to urinate anymore. Instead of taking him to the bathroom, Lola and Eric force Brent to do it right there. If Brent refuses, Eric threatens to hurt him. With great embarrassment, Brent has no choice but to urinate in front of them. While Lola is busy mocking him, Brent suddenly kicks her and takes the opportunity to try to escape. Brent quickly runs away, hopping awkwardly because his legs are still tied. He hides under Eric's car and manages to cut the rope around his legs using the razor blade hidden in his necklace. However, Eric eventually finds him and tries to run him over with the car. Brent quickly climbs a tree to save himself. Seeing this, Eric and Lola repeatedly throw stones at him until Brent finally falls from the tree. Lola even laughs like a mad person as she watches Brent in fear.
Where's Bright-Eye?
She's in her room so she can't get out.
After capturing him again, Eric ties Brent back to the chair. This time he does more than just tie him up, as Eric also pins Brent's feet to the floor with knives so he cannot escape again. After that, Lola shows Brent a scrapbook containing documentation of the boys she and Eric had kidnapped in the past. From it, Brent realizes that he is not their first victim. Since she was young, Lola has always asked Eric to kidnap the boys she liked. Whenever someone rejected her, Lola would order Eric to abduct that boy so she could torture him. The reason Lola kidnapped Brent is because he rejected her invitation to go to the school prom. Even though Brent turned her down politely, Lola could not accept it because in her mind, whatever she wants must always happen. It seems that the way Eric raised her has turned Lola into a psychopath. Lola then explains each of her victims one by one until she mentions a boy named Timmy who once managed to escape from them and whose fate has remained unknown ever since. It is very likely that Timmy died from exhaustion while trying to escape. It is later revealed that Timmy is Paul's son and also Mia's brother, who has been missing for 6 months. Even more shocking, Timmy is the same injured man Brent swerved to avoid on the road, the very person who caused the accident that killed Brent's father. After finishing her story, Lola carves a heart shape along with her initials onto Brent's chest using a fork. She does not stop there, as Lola and Eric then sprinkle salt onto the wound while laughing and enjoying Brent's suffering.
I'm ready to draw on him now.
Your drawing gets better every time.
After that, Lola pretends to dance with Brent, who is still tied to the chair, while continuing to torment him. Not long after, Lola invites Eric to dance with her. While the two of them are busy dancing, Brent quietly takes the razor blade from his necklace that he had hidden inside his suit pocket. Slowly and carefully, Brent begins trying to cut the rope that binds his hands. Soon after, Eric and Lola open a hidden room beneath the carpet. They then throw water and animal carcasses down as food for the people trapped below. It turns out they are the boys who were previously kidnapped by Eric and Lola. Although they are still alive, their condition is extremely miserable because they cannot speak and their brains have been lobotomized by Eric. Next, Eric and Lola plan to perform a lobotomy on Brent, so he will lose his sanity just like their previous victims. Bright Eyes is also one of their victims whose brain has already been lobotomized, which is why she appears like a living corpse. Eric holds Brent's head in place while Lola drills a hole into his skull using a power drill. They make sure the drill only penetrates the skull without reaching the brain.
Just enough to break through the skull.
After that, Lola plans to pour boiling water through the hole to destroy Brent's brain function, so he will no longer be able to think normally. However, when she is about to pour the hot water, Lola realizes the hole she made is too small. Eric then takes over and tries to enlarge the hole in Brent's skull. At that exact moment, Brent manages to cut the rope binding him and begins to fight back using the razor blade he had hidden. A brutal struggle follows and ends with Eric's death after Brent throws Eric's body into the underground cellar. But as Brent watches Eric's final moments, Lola suddenly pushes him into the cellar as well. Furious that Brent has killed her father, Lola vents her anger by murdering Bright Eyes, who is actually her own mother. Trapped in the dark cellar, Brent is forced to fight for his life against Lola's former victims, who have turned into cannibalistic creatures. Meanwhile, in another place, Carla and Holly are still confused while searching for Brent's whereabouts. With Paul's help, they eventually find a clue, which is Brent's headset and MP3 player in an area where Brent usually goes to be alone. Paul helps them file a missing person report and says that a search team will arrive the next morning. Since it is already late at night, Paul drives Holly back to her house. While sitting alone and thinking, Holly suddenly remembers that Brent once mentioned rejecting Lola's invitation to the school prom. Realizing this, Holly quickly calls Paul. At that moment, Paul and his family are still grieving the disappearance of Timmy. Not wanting Carla to experience the same pain he went through, Paul immediately heads to Lola's house. When he arrives there, Paul is shocked to see the horrifying condition of the house, with blood scattered everywhere. Brent, who hears Paul's voice, tries to call for help by throwing objects against the cellar door, hoping Paul will notice him. However, when Paul opens the door, he does not realize that Lola is standing behind him, and she suddenly attacks and kills him. After that, Lola takes Brent's necklace containing the razor blade and also grabs a kitchen knife. Lola says she will go to Brent's house to kill Carla, and then she will kill Holly as well.
I'm going to stab your mummy in the neck, and then I'm going to stab Holly in the heart. I'm going to your house now.
Since there is still no news from Paul by the next morning, Holly decides to go to Lola's house herself. On the way there, she encounters Lola walking in the middle of the road. Lola immediately stops Holly by throwing her scrapbook at the windshield of Holly's car. Holly is initially confused by Lola's messy appearance, but when she notices Brent's necklace being worn by Lola, Holly instantly realizes that Lola is the one who kidnapped Brent. Soon after that, a chase begins between Holly and Lola. Meanwhile, in another place, Brent manages to escape from the basement by stacking the bodies of the victims until he can reach the exit. He then quickly escapes using Paul's police car and drives toward his home. In order to save his mother and Holly, Brent forces himself to overcome his trauma and bravely drives the car again. On the road, Brent sees Holly running away from Lola. Brent manages to avoid hitting Holly, but he accidentally runs over Lola instead. Brent and Holly are finally reunited. Holly is heartbroken when she sees Brent's injured condition, but at the same time she feels incredibly relieved that he is still alive. After that, Brent and Holly notice that Lola is still trying to take revenge. Even though her body is already very weak, Lola continues dragging herself toward them with the last of her strength. Seeing this, Brent finally reverses the car at high speed and crashes into Lola, killing her instantly. The prom night that was supposed to be a joyful celebration for the students instead turns into the most tragic night of Brent's life. After everything that happened, Brent finally returns home and reunites with his mother, Carla. Although he had to go through a horrifying experience and was forced to kill Lola and Eric in order to survive, the incident makes Brent realize how precious life truly is. Brent is no longer afraid of driving again, and the boy who once thought about ending his life now finds a new reason to keep living for the happiness of Carla and Holly, and that is where the story ends.